Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Chop Won't Stop podcast, a Braves podcast for Braves fans. This is episode 22. We just want to go ahead, and it's Jim here, and we got Nick on the podcast while he was out with his lady frolicking in the Battery and the beach. So welcome back, Nicholas.
It's good to be back.
We'll go ahead and kind of give you a quick way of the land, and then after that, Nick will kind of kick us off the good, bad, and ugly. So, per usual, we will be doing the good, bad, and ugly of the past week or two, since we were off from Memorial Day week. And then from there, we'll hop into our players of the past week, kind of dive in a little bit of that, go over some matchups that we're going to see this week with the two series that are coming up. And then we're going to do what we started off whenever Jake and Jordan were on the podcast, and we're going to do some just random hot takes. It can be for the upcoming week. It could be for the rest of the month, it can be for the rest of the season, up to the deadline. Who knows? It's just something we can have fun with. And I want to say Jake almost said all of his last time. So without further ado, Nick, go ahead and take us away with your good, bad, and ugly of the past week.
Good is obviously, the past week, 5-2 on this road trip, couldn't ask for much more than that. A sweep, our first win streak this season. We've won 5 in a row right now. We hadn't even gotten to a 3-game win streak. So obviously that's the good. The bad, obviously, we should have been 7-0 this week. Just 2 games against Arizona that shouldn't have happened. A bunch of misplays in game 1, and then the bullpen kind of gave it away in game 2. I honestly fell asleep in game 2 and woke up to us losing in extra innings. And I was like, what happened? Because we were up big. And I was just like, goodness gracious, we had wasted a big night from Matt Olson at the plate. And that's really what I feel like has turned him around, was that one game. And he's been hitting the cover off the ball since. And then the ugly has just been the past couple of weeks is Kenley Jansen has not been Kenley Jansen. Today he gave up a run. So it's scary to see, because he was so effective in the beginning of the year, and now he's been so inconsistent. I mean, I think he's blown half his saves over the past couple weeks. So, I mean, that's really just the ugly for me. Other than that, just the team's been playing well the past week and a half, and I hope that they can keep it up and, make some ground up on the Mets.
But I'll have to agree with kind of your ugly here a little bit, but they've interviewed Kenley Jansen countless times during the stretch, and he's always said, it happens to everybody. It happens to the best relievers that are out there, the best closers. All I got to do is work through it, and that's going to make me a better pitcher. But going off of that, I'd say my goods were streaking finally. We are at 5 straight wins as of the recording on Sunday night, with the off day on the day that the podcast gets released. And that's a good feeling, because we'd win 2 and then lose 1, or we'd win 1 and lose 1. It was very deja vu-ish of last year with the on and off. Couldn't get above 500. Now we're finally above 500. So hopefully that's what this team needs. I know they've been claiming some people off waivers as of late. I know Nick knows those names for sure. He's been able to kind of see that today. And I mean, still look out on the horizon. Yeah, Kirby Yates coming back, a dominant reliever. Tyler Matzek still coming back, and he's already throwing some light bullpens. You got Mike Soroka coming back, and you got Eddie Rosario. Like those are 4 huge pieces of a puzzle that could just be grander. So that is my good. My bad, outside of his last 5 or 6 at bats, I'd say Adam Duvall. Before Saturday night, his homer in extra innings, and then tonight going with Sunday night, as we record this, going with a double and triple. I think he started to see the ball pretty well. I think he needed that night off on Friday, if I'm not mistaken. So that's good. And then maybe with the Zuna too, that's going to do the same thing, because the Zuna's been struggling really hard at the plate. And then my ugly is just kind of bouncing off of Nick, but just, I kind of get that not so warm and fuzzy feeling like I did last year quite a bit whenever Will Smith comes out. He hasn't been sharp. He's leaving a lot of things hanging. He's walking a lot more. And with Kenley Jansen, everybody goes through their ups and downs. Mariano Rivera did. So pretty much he's going to just have to work through those hiccups and get going. So for me, that's my good, bad, and ugly. I'm not overly worried. The only thing that sucks is that the Mets, picked up 2 wins against the Dodgers. It's the only time I'd really pull for the Dodgers. So it's one of those things that the Mets are performing right now. The Phillies are starting to get really hot after Girardi was shown the door. So it's just you gotta keep asking what you just gotta, win the series you're supposed to. If you can go even on those tough series, that's, in the long run, that's going to be the best thing for the team.
Well, you mentioned the Phillies starting to get hot. I don't know if it's really a hot streak that they're getting on, or so much as the Angels have just been playing horrendous baseball the past 3 weeks. So I'm not really concerned about the Phillies until they actually play a team that hasn't been, honestly, playing worse than the Reds were when they started out the season. Aside from the Mets, they've been doing what they've been doing. But we did pick up some ground this weekend. Obviously, if we win we win 4 games and they had lost or gone 2-2. So obviously we have picked up a little bit of ground. I'm not too concerned about it. We've got 14 games with them left. So the division's ours for the taking if we still want it, but we've got to keep doing what we did this week. And, this next week is a great way to do it. This next week and a half, we've got 2 against Oakland, 4 against the Pittsburgh and 3 against Washington. We'll get on to that later in the upcoming week and stuff like that. But we started out well, finishing hot in Colorado. Let's just, I'd say, keep it going. So as far as that, yeah, I'm feeling pretty confident after this week of games.
Yeah, and I agree with you. It's kind of, I would think with the people who are players of the week, they were huge key contributors to this past week of going 5 in a row, 5 out of 7 on the road trip. And so that kind of just leads me into mind. I'm going to pick Matt Olson, mainly because I know Nick, who you have assured us. So I went with Matt Olson. According to MLB.com, his last 7 splits. So Arizona up until tonight as we record this Sunday night, he is 9 for 31. Which is spectacular. It's kind of the, almost the hot streak he started off on. So the hot streak that he's kind of like he was on beginning of the year, and 2 home runs, 11 RBIs, which as I scroll up, he had 17 going into the week before. So it kind of like what Nick had said offline, he's almost doubled that. He had like another crazy amount, 5 or 6 doubles, I think, in this week's man too. So, it's something that he cashes in. He had a huge homer Sunday night against the Rockies at 3-run. And so I think he's starting to pick it up and find the groove.
Yeah. And I'd have to go with Austin Riley. He has been raking the ball lately. He went 1 for 5 today, but I think a couple nights ago he had quite a few hard hit balls that were right at people for outs. He was slumping for a while, and then all of a sudden here he comes back again, just smashing home runs. It's crazy to see. I mean, he's got 8 RBIs this past week, 3 home runs, just really leveled it out on the strikeouts too. I mean, he's got 7 strikeouts and 3 walks. I'll take that any day of the week, batting .355 right now with a .412 on base percentage. So this lineup seems to have found a groove for the most part. Like you mentioned earlier, Adam Duvall's starting to hit a little bit more. That could be with Michael Harris moving to center. It kind of takes the pressure off him in the field so he can relax more at the dish. And people don't really think about that. But when you're worried about covering so much ground, especially over in left center, when Marcell Ozuna's in the outfield too, he's got a lot to worry about to make sure that, he's got his pitchers back when it comes to defense and stuff like that. So I feel like he's probably able to relax more at the plate, and that's why we're able to see him hit a little bit better this week. And, being at Coors Field helps out at that situation too.
And I wouldn't say Michael Harris the second. I wouldn't say he's the player of the week. I think he's the unsung hero of the week. Just the energy he brings, some of those diving catches. He has some very timely at bats too, where he's poking them in holes. Granted, he probably could have had his first home run that turned into his first extra base hit. But, of course, here we are where it would be a home run in 21 out of 30 ballparks. But I think, he's going to have his ups and downs going from AA to Major League. But it's just fun to watch this guy. Like, to me, it reminds me of, like, Andrew Jones being out there and, like, being pumped to watch this dude. And something that he has the luxury of is he's batting in front of Ronald Acuna Jr., not like Pache where he was batting in front of a pitcher.
And, like I mentioned earlier, we've got a pretty decent schedule, a much needed off day after 17 games in a row in 17 days. We've got Oakland coming up. It should be interesting to see all of Matt Olson's teammates, or what's left of his teammates after Oakland's offseason unload on the rest of Major League Baseball. And to see what he does against his former team. We saw Freddie Freeman and what he did against us earlier in the season. So it'll be interesting to see what Olson will do against his former team. And I look to see him continue to do what he's done this past week. And it'll be interesting to see how we play out. I mean, we got 9 games coming up against teams that are at the bottom of their division, maybe not at the bottom, but, at the last 2 teams in division. And, we're starting to heat up. It should be a very good weekend. I'm expecting a couple sweeps. Hopefully we can roll some wins off, and maybe a 14-game win streak sounds pretty nice right now after these 9 games. The Nationals looked very bad, but I know that they're on a little bit of a winning streak right now too. But hopefully we can kind of get this season turned around and catch up on the catch some ground up on the Mets with a nice win streak and a nice homestand before we have the Dodgers coming in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and also too, this is Pache's homecoming, where he'll be getting his ring, I would assume probably on Tuesday, which would be cool. Everybody's kind of got a soft spot for Pache just because, he had so much hype and you want to see him succeed. But, as long as he's enjoying being in Oakland and kind of, I see him getting a lot of love. That's awesome. But look at some of these pitching matchups. I mean, you got Kyle Wright on the mound. Kyle has just been phenomenal. Still a sub-3 ERA at 2.41. Really pumped about that. And with Ian, he's right there in the middle. He's not doing great. He's not doing bad. Kind of where I'd want my 4th or 5th guy with Soroka coming back. I think, that's something that's very doable. And then come Pittsburgh, then that's whenever we kind of flip it. And it looks like it's probably just going to be Fried, Strider, Morton, Wright, and Anderson, kind of the way they're going right now. And then, you hope for Strider. He had 5 walks his last outing. The outing before, he kind of got screwed with, a lot of those lackadaisical errors. So, you just look where he's going to be at home. He's going to feel comfortable. He's going to be gassed up. But there's no reason why we can't go and take these 6 games. Pittsburgh's always struggled. Oakland, outside of, some hot spots here and there, they're struggling as well. So, and then from there, like you said, Washington, and then further down road, Chicago, you almost need to go 600-700 above to be feeling pretty good rolling in with San Fran and LA and Philly, because Philly's naturally going to be hungry. They could be the worst team in the league, but they're going to give us our all. And so to me, I'm looking forward to this week. I think it's going to be fun. I think there's going to be a lot of, offense just because the pitching is not great. But then again, we were in Colorado, and we literally had 0 runs until the 10th inning on Friday, and then 1 run up until the 10th inning on Saturday. So we've always been streaky with our bats. But that's kind of like you said, I'm really looking forward to it. The Pirates are 24-28, which isn't that bad for the Pirates whatsoever. And then Oakland's 20-36 coming in. So I'm excited. I think our pitching's finally turning around once Strider kind of gets that going. So now we're going to take it over to hot takes. The last hot take I had was completely wrong. Thought Drew Waters would get called up. He did not. That'd be Michael Harris. But I'm going to create a new hot take for the trade deadline with addition to Michael Harris. I honestly believe that Anthopoulos is probably going to make a move to cut some of the salary, some of the budget with, I wouldn't surprise me if Duvey's staying hot, Rosario comes back, he's healthy. It wouldn't surprise me. Maybe, you might see some talks about Ozuna. Just, I don't know if he's going to get traded. Might be some talks there. It could be a package deal to get to rebuild some of the farm system. Or if we're, heaven forbid, if we're needing somebody in a certain position, not outfield or DH, where that's the bullpen, back in the rotation, I think that's where he's going to make a move. A lot of people have talked about, seeing rumors about go after Benintendi or somebody like that. I don't think they need any more outfielders. If Rosario is back to normal and you can have Duvey getting hot again with that bat, because Ozuna and Duvey in my mind are the exact same offensive players, not defense, but offensive. And then you can have Rosario and Duvey kind of platoon out there in left field. But to me, it wouldn't surprise me. That's my hot take. If there's, rumors that Ozuna could be getting traded or Duvall One of those two, it wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. So that's kind of my hot take. Whether they do or not, I just think there's going to be a lot of people hearing about it, and there's going to be a lot of GMs that are checking in. They're kind of looking for that puzzle piece for the next 2 or 3 years with their farm system to kind of a Marcakis, if you will, to help rebuild.
I don't see that being a stretch, especially with how William Contreras is swinging the bat, and the Braves trying to find somewhere to put him. They obviously don't want to put him in the outfield. I was at a game where he did not show that he was going to be able to play the outfield very well against the Phillies. So I don't see that Marcell getting moved as a stretch. I would be surprised if he did, honestly, but I wouldn't put it past Alex Anthopoulos to move him and for us to somehow find a way to get William Contreras in that DH role when he's not catching for Travis d'Arnaud, because he has really proved that he needs to be somewhere in that lineup. But he just hasn't proven that an outfield position is where he needs to be.
One of my big things with that too is there's a lot of money being eaten up by Ozuna right now, and you're going to have potentially, Dansby getting extended, whether he does or not. If not, then there's going to be, people like Trey Turner, Carlos Correa, people like that out there that are going to cost big bucks. Austin Riley's getting close to being extended. You're going to start paying up for Max Fried, and some of the others. So it's just one of those things that it's okay with the Contreras thing. We have somebody that can hit. Do we just go and get, Brian McCann-esque type catcher that's a little bit older that can do the job all right while d'Arnaud keeps going, because d'Arnaud's not playing bad either. So that's where I was coming from with it a little bit more.
Yeah. Man, hot takes. I don't know. Cause we really don't need anything, in my opinion. A fifth starter would be nice, but we're going to get that back in Soroka.
And talk about Soroka's going to come back and have a below 3 ERA, just something that's just off the wall. It's not something that's going to be right all the time.
Okay. As far as my hot take, man, I don't know. How do you win comeback player of the year only playing half the season? I'll go with that. As far as my hot take, I don't see really any trades being done by Alex Anthopoulos right now. There's not really, we obviously inconsistencies in our lineup where, one night we'll put up 13 runs and the next night we won't score a run until the 10th inning. But that's just the way the lineup's been. And, I saw something earlier about the team had a team meeting Wednesday before the Arizona Diamondback game because of the past 2 games, and we've rattled off 5 straight wins. So hopefully that's kind of changed the course for us. And as far as us needing anything, honestly, just the one thing I could see if Strider doesn't end up working out, just us needing a solid 5th guy that, we don't pull in somebody. I saw a stat today, a couple days ago, where it's like the Braves are 2-10 with the 5th man of the rotation, whether it not be Anderson, Morton, Wright, or Max Fried. And that's 10 losses, 2-10. That's bad. When you're thinking, this guy's got to pitch every 5th day. We've got to start generating wins, especially when they're going to match up against, another person's 5th starter. So, and the hot take could be that Soroka comes back and pitches like he did before he blew out his Achilles tendon. And that's not really a hot take in my opinion, but some people might see it with the guy not pitching over 2 years pretty much. But I could see him doing it, coming in and, solidifying himself in the rotation, just like he was considered the ace before he blew his ACL. And I'd love to see it. And I really, as far of a stretch, I don't really think it is, but some people might. I really don't see a hot take for this, trade deadline. I really don't see Anthopoulos going crazy like he has in the last few years, because as much as we've been inconsistent this season, I really don't think there's like a certain weakness that this team has that Anthopoulos could target, so yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's going to be interesting, kind of like what we talked about before. We have a lot of, we're almost just having trades off the IL with the guys like this with Soroka and Kirby Yates and Matzik and Rosario coming back. So I really don't see much what we need to do, kind of just the theoretical of, what if, I think would be really interesting. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to hop off this one episode. We appreciate you guys hanging in, listening to us, whether it's on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, or even on our website. We really appreciate it. Please like, subscribe, kind of promote as much as possible. We really appreciate you guys hopping in. So we will see you on our next episode next week. We're going to try to do our best to bring on a guest. I have a few people in mind for us to bring on. So hopefully we'll be able to do that for you. So we appreciate you hopping on so much, and chop on, Braves Country.